This is a Pokédex. This is also a Pokédex. And this, believe it or not, is also a Pokédex. A possessed one, sure, but still a good old Pokémon cataloging machine. All of these things are examples of the Pokémon encyclopedia that we've been completing since 1996, and will likely continue to complete until the end of our days, for life is temporary, yet Pokémon is eternal. One of them though, well, it was controversial, though it might be time to do it once again. So hey, I'm Not So Ace Trainer, and it's time for a new Pokédex. Let's get into it. When someone mentions Pokédex and controversy in the same sentence, our minds take us to the beautiful Galar region, our first new generation in the Nintendo Switch. Everyone was excited for it. What wonders will the Pokémon main series bring to this awesome hybrid console with its new installment? Will I have a new favorite Pokémon showing up on my TV? Questions were many, and when it happened, boy did the community show its true colors. As always, things were slowly revealed throughout the year, with one of them being what the community angrily named Dexit, from Brexit or the UK leaving the European Union. Galar was based in the UK, so pretty cool. Even burning in anger, Pokemon fans are incredibly creative. Love to see it. Just like I would love if you pressed the like button and subscribe to the channel, for example. Shameless call to action aside, Dexit was the moment when Pokémon Games officially stopped having all Pokémon. There would be a bunch of them, sure, but a lot of your favorites would be left behind. It was the death of the national Dex. This was justified with how hard of a task it would be to convert every model into a high-quality one, and how they wanted to prioritize animations. Well, I don't need to, but I will insert a Zamazenta turning video here. Yeah, needless to say that people were not convinced. This got worse when eventually, down the line, it was revealed that the models appeared to be indeed reused. This created a bit of an internet storm, where even death threats were sent by some really sad people to Game Freak. But that's just a small part of the community. Most people did not care about this and simply played the games as they had always done. And a good way to see that the small, crying niche didn't matter as much is to simply look at the sales from Sword and Shield. They, right now, are the second ever best-selling Pokemon games ever. Still, this was a bit of a weird time to be a Pokemon fan, since angry people can be quite loud, but since then, every single Pokédex has been limited and people are less and less inclined to complain about it. That is the way it is, and expecting otherwise is basically a recipe for disappointment. But all of this reminded me of another time when the Pokédex wasn't what it usually was. A time when Pokemon went through a tougher phase with a lot of its audience just growing out of it. A time when they failed to capture the magic. And that was the time of Gen 5. I know this will be a big risk since things have changed since 2010, but the opinions around Gen 5 weren't always the same they are now. We all have heard about the usual Pokemon cycle, where when a few years have passed, people begin to fall in love with the region, and something that wasn't that popular appears to always have been widely loved. Kalos is the current example. For years, being a Kalos lover was receiving weird looks from people, and now, well, now Kalos is awesome and Megas and Legends ZA and blah blah blah. Before this, well, it was Unova, a region that tried to be so different, so edgy, that failed to capture the nostalgia that Pokemon brings to the table. Black and White, as the main games of a generation, are the worst selling ones, and Black 2 and White 2 sold around what third versions or remakes would sell at the time. The only problem being that they weren't that, they were sequels. They were the Johto to Black and White's Kanto. As I said, a lot of this was due to how the original audience was growing away from Pokemon, and using an edgy story to try and capture them failed to tingle their nostalgia senses. And at the same time, it kind of failed to bring as many young fans as they were used to. And in my humble and maybe a bit biased opinion, I think their biggest mistake was the Pokédex. Pokémon Black and White introduced 156 new Pokémon into the franchise, 5 more than what Pokémon Red, Blue and Green did. This was an insane number of new Pokémon to capture, which would be fantastic for everyone that loves the collecting part of Pokémon. But then, why was that their biggest issue at the time? Well, the issue was actually that every Pokémon that wasn't from Gen 5 was only available in the post-game in Black and White. People that were going through a bit of a Pokémon weaning didn't have anything pulling them to that game. They didn't know the characters, they didn't know the Pokémon. They all were more edgy and less round. Nothing pulled them back in. They weren't ready for something like it. In Pokémon Black 2 and White 2, they tried to make everything right. You had a lot of older Pokémon available from the beginning, and there was even the Pokémon World Tournament with a lot of familiar faces. But it was too late. I really do believe that's why Gen 6 was so Kanto forward. It was meant to be a mighty nostalgic slap in the face of everyone, and it worked, so they kept on doing it. They made a mistake, they fixed it, and now I really do believe they should make that mistake again. You see, Pokémon is about to reach Gen 10, likely coming in the 30th anniversary of the franchise. An insane milestone, especially when you're still incredibly successful. Pokémon is selling like never before, and it doesn't look like they are stopping anytime soon. While before, in Gen 5, Pokémon was dealing with people going out of the franchise, we can argue that now, with the availability and success of things like the Nintendo Switch and even Pokémon Go, Pokémon is dealing with people coming back. Not only that, games like Pokémon Legends Arceus also brought a whole bunch of new eyes into the franchise, people that probably have no idea what a Basculin or a Rufflet is, and they still played it and they probably still loved it. The game is good. And something tells me that Pokémon Legends ZA will do exactly the same. While Gen 5 had everything going against it, Gen 10 has everything on its side. People are used to seeing a Dex cut now, people are used to seeing their favorites left behind. People have been seeing that since Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, Kanto games, full-on Kanto games in the middle of Gen 7. It really feels like nothing can stop Pokémon now, not even themselves. I can see only one problem with it, though I feel like it's not that big of a deal. Gen 10 will likely be on whatever the new Nintendo Switch is, and having nostalgia marketing would be a great way to move hardware, since Pokémon is the kind of franchise that does that. Still, I believe we'll likely see new Mario games, maybe some Zelda announcement, and probably even Metroid Prime 4, the fabled game that I'm not even sure exists at this point. So I still believe it's time to make the mistake. Bring the nostalgia only in the post-game or in the DLC. Give us a Gen 10 that has a brand new Pokédex, just like Gen 5 had, but this time, use your momentum to your advantage. Play your cards right and give us an adventure unlike any other we ever had. While it was part of the criticism of Unova, one can't deny that it gave that region its own personality in a way that no other could emulate. And honestly, with things like convergent species, your Toadstool and Wiglet, you can even play around with a feeling of nostalgia with some goofy references like those designs. It's time to create brand new memories, and the best way to do it is not only in a new region with new lore, but also with a brand new cast of partners, and if there's someone that can pull that off, well, that's gotta be Pokémon. And that is all I have for you today. Mistakes of the past don't have to stay as mistakes forever. You just have to learn how to do them right. But what about you? Would you like to see a new Pokédex, a full new Pokédex for Gen 10? Let me know in the comments down below. And now, like the video if you like it, dislike if you don't, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Pokemon content, and also ring the bell so you know when the next video is out. Also, you can become a channel member or check out my merch in order to further support the channel. I'd be forever thankful for that. You can follow me on social media or check out one of my streams here and on Twitch. All the links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.